The Astros needing a series win against the Mariners so desperately, and yet they don't get it. Obviously, a lot of things went wrong in this series, with the offense being pretty much in a funk the first two games. Plus, Isaac Paredes, the latest Astro to hit the injured list, dealing yet another blow to an already depleted roster full of injuries. We're going to talk all about it. What the heck's happening with this team, man? But even though we ended up salvaging the series finale in the most dominant way possible, I'm still kind of frustrated on how this series went down. Because I mean, I stayed up late for most of this night. I kind of wake up on the wrong side of the bed the next morning, just given what had happened and all that. It's frustrating. But let's talk about this series and what went wrong. First things first, let's dive right into a couple of injury updates. We'll start with Isaac Paredes, who, as I had mentioned earlier, left Saturday's game with a hamstring injury. He unfortunately is hitting the injured list with no timetable set to return as of at this time. But elsewhere, we had three Astros starters currently hurt, went on rehab starts this weekend. Javier and Spencer Arrighetti went on rehab starts with Double-A Corpus. Javier going on Friday, going 3 innings, allowing just 2 earned runs, and Spencer Arrighetti also going 3 innings, allowed 0 runs on just 1 hit, got 4 Ks in his outing. And then Garcia today with Single-A Fayetteville with the Fayetteville Woodpeckers had just went 2 innings, and he had retired all 6 batters that he had faced, and 2 of which came on strikeouts. Overall, I would imagine that those guys still have a long way to go. I mean, I would imagine the earliest we might see Javier might actually be August. I mean, I don't even know which of those 3 guys is probably going to be the soonest that we're going to see them back. So, we're just going to have to see what happens. But we also have several others to share with some other more recent guys like Jordan. He had started swinging a bat on the 17th of July, which I can't even remember what day that was. But he had started swinging a bat on that day. He did travel with the team to Seattle to open the road trip. I would imagine he'll also continue with them to Arizona. We'll see what happens there. Brendan Rodgers, of course, he was scheduled to begin a rehab assignment with Triple-A Sugarland tonight, but he was pulled from it after a collision out in the infield. I mean, I don't really recall exactly what had happened with there, but But elsewhere, though, Jeremy Pena had traveled to Florida to continue his rehab out there, and that's where he currently is as we speak. JP France is also in Florida. He's through Live BP last Tuesday. He'll make another rehab assignment in the Florida Coastal League next week. So, or technically this week, but you guys kind of get the point. Spencer Arrighetti with that broken right thumb, he threw a 35 pitch live BP this week. So obviously another good thing to see there. But outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. Everybody else I think is most of the guys who are currently hurt are just still rehabbing in Florida. I mean, none of them as of right now, except for the pitchers I had mentioned, are out on rehab starts as of yet. So, we're just going to have to wait and see what the next step is for our injured guys, I suppose you can say. But, seriously, man, Isaac Paredes being the next blow to the injured list, how much more can this team take? As I've said earlier, man, this team is held together by duct tape. And, I don't know what's going on with our strength and conditioning staff. And, granted, in Isaac's defense, this was an injury that's been nagging him for most of the season. Because if you guys recall, he did strain it earlier in the season. He missed those 3 games against the Minnesota Twins at home. We didn't need him for that series, thankfully. But now this is kind of the worst time for him to be getting hurt because, Jeremy Pena is still a good ways away. I don't expect anybody to come back from, of all the guys who are currently, I don't expect any of them to come back this month, if I'm being honest. So, we're in quite the predicament. And this is a big stretch one that we've got coming up. We've got Arizona after this. I believe we also have Boston this month. So it's a pretty tough schedule. And even in the first weekend of August, we also, I think we might have the Yankees in the Bronx in early August as well, if I remember correctly. But I haven't memorized our entire schedule, so I don't even know. But finally, diving straight into the series itself, we'll start in the first game here. It was all Mariners in this game. Let's be 100% honest. Obviously, the Astros did have a good opportunity to score first in the top of the 3rd inning with Mauricio Dubon and also Bryce Matthews, who collected his first MLB hit in this game. Cam Smith would advance both of those guys in the scoring position, but Altuve just could not get any of them home, and he would strike out swinging to extinguish that threat for the Astros. And personally, I think that's probably the biggest threat that the Astros had for most of the night against Luis Castillo, because he was just pretty much mowing us down. Randy Arozarena for the Mariners would get the scoring started in this game in the bottom of the fourth with a solo home run. That swing over time ended up looming huge, just given how quiet the Astros offense was in this game. They only had collected 4 hits in this game, despite such a stellar start from Brandon Walter. Because the only blemish was that home run. The Mariners would score once again on a Mitch Garver home run. The Astros would chip at it an inning later with an RBI double by Isaac Paredes to make it a 2-1 game, but that was as close as they get, as the Mariners would pull away late in the bottom of the 8th, scoring 4 times to eventually win 6-1. There's honestly not much else to say about this game, to be honest, other than just how frustrating it was. So let's just dive straight into game 2. The Mariners had scored first once again in this game on an RBI groundout by Ben Williamson, but it was 1-0 Mariners going into the top of the 3rd inning with Cam Smith at the plate and 2 men on the corners. He would hit an RBI single to tie the game at 1, but it wouldn't stay tied for long, as the Mariners would score 3 times in the bottom of the 3rd inning to knock out Lance McCullers. I honestly am starting to lose it with Lance at this point, man. I mean, I don't know what's happening with him. I know that fans are going to be saying to be cutting him some slack because this is his first time pitching in 2 years. But like, we already did that when he was coming back from injury, like, you know, in May or so when he had that one bad start against Cincinnati. Like, at this point, man, that's probably the only bit of slack that I personally was willing to give him at that point. Because, like, I mean, it's July already, and yet he still has not figured it out. And this is on the road, mind you. He has been stellar on the road this season, and yet he ended up pitching like this. I mean, he didn't pitch bad, but like at the same time, he still gave up 4 runs. I mean, what is happening with him? I'm not on the idea of us necessarily trading him at this point, but like, I mean, as the trade deadline approaches here, it's about a week and a half away. I mean, if he has one more bad start, to be honest, man, I feel like that's going to have to be the last straw at this point. So I'm sorry, man, but I mean, that's just really how it is. Like, fans have been singing the same tune forever now about Lance, about us just wanting him to hoping that he'll figure it out, and yet he still has not done it yet. Because I mean, the best start that he has had all season was a couple weeks ago in LA, but outside of that, he has yet to even match that. But yeah, anyway, guys, going straight here into the top of the 6th, this was when the Astros would start to rally to tie. Altuve came out to the plate with 2 runners on. In a 2-run game, he would hit an RBI single to cut that deficit in half. So it was still 4-3 Mariners, with Victor Caratini coming up with a chance to bat in the tying run, with the tying run 90 feet, which was 90 feet away on third base. He would deliver big time in this game. This was his 2nd hit in this game, eventually going on to hit 3 of them. He also had 3 more on Sunday's game, so he had 6 hits in the last 2 games of this series, which was amazing to see. And then they would eventually untie it in that inning with Christian Walker hitting an RBI single to score Altuve from second. It would be 5-4 Astros. That was the score going into the bottom of the 8th with Brian Abreu on the mound. He would unfortunately uncork a wild pitch to allow the Mariners to tie the game at 5. That was the score going into Manfred innings, a scenario where the Astros have had some success this season, but that success was nowhere to be found, as despite the Astros scoring in the 10th inning on a sac fly by Trammell, I mean, Josh Hader was coming on. He had pitched in the 9th to send the game there to begin with. But with the tying run 90 feet away, Josh Hader on the mound, he would supposedly hit Dylan Moore with a pitch, or at least it looked like it, but it was ruled that Dylan Moore was not hit by this pitch, and instead he had actually hit a bit of a check swing off the knob of his bat, which I think is just ridiculous. I mean, the Astros would challenge this to no avail. So then that was the score, again, going into the bottom of the 11th, where Cole Young for the Mariners had walked it off after the Astros just could not even advance their Manfred runner past second base. I mean, then this had started with a sacrifice bunt by the Mariners in this inning. Take notes, Alex Cintron. This is basic fundamental baseball. You've got a big insurance run in the go-ahead run sitting out there at second base, and yet you're still insisting that your guys swing. If it were the top of our lineup batting that inning, then so be it. But at the same time, man, like, take some basic notes from other teams and actually learn how to bunt, for crying out loud. But the Astros, of course, knowing that they needed to get this win in the worst way possible on Sunday, would deliver big time. But it didn't come without the fact that the Mariners had jumped out to a 3-0 lead after 4 innings, scoring all those runs off of Hunter Brown. I mean, Hunter Brown, I feel like, is pitching like he is hurt. Because, I feel like he's just failing to admit that because he knows how thin our rotation is, and he's just trying to just pitch it out as best he can. I mean, it would really not surprise me if an IL stint comes up for him at this point, because I don't know what's happening with him. I mean, it's not realistic for him to be delivering 6-hit shutout performances or something like that every time he's on the mound. But the fact that he hasn't even been able to throw to even, go through a start without giving up more than just, 3 hits or something like that is just not realistic. Although this was the first time that the Astros had held their opponent to 3 runs or fewer in a while, so that was a good sight to see. But like I said, man, the Mariners jumped out to a 3-0 lead after 4 innings. The Astros would score 11 unanswered runs at that point to just go on to win the game. It started in the 5th inning with Shea Whitcomb coming up as the tying run with 2 guys on base. He had managed to hit a bloop hit that J.P. Crawford just could not catch. It had appeared to tick off his glove, but he would get charged with an error on that play. But in the process, 1-1 would come in to score for the Astros, so it was 3-1 Mariners at that point. Next man up was Cam Smith, and he would hit a game-tying 2 RBI double that would score Cooper Hummel and Shea Whitcomb from first and second base. Shea Whitcomb, who was on first base, he was actually hot on Hummel's heels, but he thankfully did not overtake him. The slide that Cooper Hummel had made to avoid this tag of Cal Raleigh in this play was absolutely incredible. And speaking of Cal Raleigh, who has been playing on an MVP caliber level coming into this series, the Astros held him to just 2 for 13 in this series with 0 extra base hits. That is like best case scenario, if I'm being honest. So it was 3-3 going into the top of the 6th inning. The Astros would untie it with a pair of home runs. The first one coming by Christian Walker to put us up 4-3. That was a common sense, which let him snap out of the slump that he was in. The second had come from former Mariner Taylor Trammell, who would have an absolutely amazing day today, collecting 3 hits and 3 ribbies. This was one of them. He would collect 2 more in the 6th. He would collect 2 more, I believe, in the 7th inning on a 2 RBI double to put us up 9-3. And then Caratini in the 8th inning would put the icing on the cake by by knocking in a pair of runs for our 10th and 11th runs of the game and get his 3rd hits in this game and 6th in the past 2 games after collecting 3 hits last night. So overall, man, the bats did break out in the series finale, but overall, I am a little bit disappointed with how this series ended up turning out. And at this point, man, I feel like things are really going to be starting to heat up against the Mariners when they come to Houston for the final series of the season in Houston in September. So that really should be a fun series. I mean, I've got that one pinned on my schedule, I guess you can say. Next up for us, we've got Arizona to get for 3 games in Arizona to cap off this road trip before we come home for 6 games against the A's and Nats. It should be good, but I mean, like I said, man, this might be a tough series. Hopefully things will start to ease up this weekend against the A's and maybe the Nats, but I mean, I do expect some traps here and there. But, hopefully we can get some guys back before we go on this 10-game road trip to kick off the month of August. Because let's be honest, man, if we can't get anybody back at this rate before that road trip in August, it's going to be a nightmare to get through that, unscathed, to even stay in first place. And speaking of the standings, man, because of the funk that we've been in, we're not even in the top 2 anymore. So, I mean, we need to be trying to start going to start kicking it into high gear and try to get back in the swing of things. Because now the Blue Jays are ahead of us in the playoff race standings at this point. But the Tigers have also been struggling. So, like, if I'm being honest, man, the AL is wide open this year. We're still 2 games behind the Tigers for first place overall, like in the AL. So, I mean, hopefully we can try to. So, despite that, I mean, it's the playing field is pretty much starting to level out a little bit. Because, the Guardians are still in the mix. They're 4.5 out of a wild card spot. Angels are also 4 games out of a wild card spot. Rangers are 3 games out of a wild card spot. Tampa is also kind of starting to fall out of the picture just a little bit. So far, the Yankees, Mariners, and Red Sox are the 3 teams that currently hold the 3 wild card spots in the AL right now. And in addition to that, we also have a tie atop the NL Central, with the Cubs struggling as much as they did. The Brewers are hot on their heels right now, which I'm hoping that they can try to cool off a little bit because, like I said, I really want the Cubs to try and sneak in as the top team in the NL Central. Even the Dodgers have been struggling a little bit. It feels like ever since we swept them a couple weeks ago in LA, coming in, they've lost 8 of their last 10 games, and they just got swept by the Milwaukee Brewers for the second time in the span of about a week. It's crazy. It's crazy to think how much the league is starting to shape up a little bit. Everybody's now pretty much level at this rate. It's going to be intense as we head into the final 2 months of the season here as far as how things are going to shape out. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks a ton, guys, for watching. Leave a like if y'all enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And if you want to watch anything else, click these cards above my shoulders. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, like I said. And I'll see you guys in the next one.